Hey everybody, this is Stephen with Junior Achievement of North Florida. I hope that you're doing well. Today we have another Career Speaker Series interview with Pixie from Jacksonville, Florida. Pixie, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm excited. I just love junior achievement and I can't wait to share my story.
Awesome. So the very first part of this interview is just an introduction of yourself, job, any personal information, family, anything that you'd like to share with the students.
I was born in Jacksonville, one of the few natives that I hear, and lived on the north side of town.
Okay.
Found it out, actually migrated to the beach, which, it was like a day trip when I was a kid. I started entrepreneurship when I was 19. Actually, I
Wow.
started in catering. I wanted to have my own business because I never wanted to be fired. That
Hmm.
was the main reason for wanting to own my own business. And after that, that was a lot of night and weekend work. So I thought that if I was going to run a business, I needed to know how to do one. So
Hmm.
after high school, went to Bishop Kenny. I have a brother and a sister that also went to Bishop Kenny.
Yeah.
It's Jacksonville's Jacksonville, and I run into people I see all the time. So it's kind of fun to have stayed here as I've
Yeah.
as I've grown up.
That's awesome to hear. So let's enter into the mindset of being a high school student. And so it sounded like you really wanted to be this entrepreneur, you wanted to be your own boss. So did this mean that you went straight into college or go into the workforce?
Studying was not easy for me, and I
Okay.
was kind of like a mediocre student, and I wanted to learn how to run a business, and I knew that bookkeeping would be my end if I need
Okay.
to understand what the actual financials were. So I went for just a semester to FCCJ at the time,
Okay.
and I was working full time, and I was making quite a bit of money, more than what my cohorts were making when they got out of college. So I decided I'm just going to do this. I'm going to learn it, and then when the time is right, and I find that piece, that one thing I want to do, then I'll make the jump.
Wow. Okay. So cool. So you really were able to fill in like the solid fundamentals of what it means to be an entrepreneur and
Most definitely.
understand like the basics of it.
And that's key because I have heard many stories and witnessed other, young entrepreneurs who start something and then they don't understand the financial part of what they're doing. And that is key, key, key. I can't stress that enough.
Absolutely, such wise words. And so, after you did bookkeeping, what did obviously kind of helped you what you're doing now? Can you explain more of your career as you progressed after bookkeeping?
Sure. So I went and got a massage. I was doing catering at the time, and I thought I
Okay.
would take my profits and get a massage because I had migraines and just suffered from a lot of stress and body aches.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with it. I walked out of there thinking, oh my gosh, I want to do this.
Hmm.
And, 30 years ago, there weren't that many massage schools in the area. So I did some research and I had a great job. I was making, really good money. But I knew if I didn't make the jump then, and I was 29,
Hmm.
that I would probably look back 10 years later and regret the fact that I didn't take it.
Wow.
So after I researched it and found out that there were two schools in the area, I did some talk to people, interviewed both schools, and yeah, just said this is what I'm going to do.
Okay, got it. So you're currently a masseuse, correct?
Well, I've been 30 years in the field, and
Okay.
I'm recently retired. I
Okay.
had a client that was 98, and she passed last year, so she told me I couldn't retire until she passed away.
Okay.
And I love teaching. I've taught massage before. So in the throes of the massage, there's a lot of mind body that I worked through
Yeah.
and with clients. And meditation led to other forms of meditation, and that led to my art career.
Hmm.
So about 18 years ago, I started painting on glass, and it's called Pixie
Wow.
Glass, named after me. And
Okay.
it takes everything, all the junk out of my head. So I
Yeah.
was still doing massage, still painting, and then I started doing art shows with the glass about 14 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
And that's morphed and continued to morph. And now I also design clothing based on the designs from my glass. I'm wearing one.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. So it sounds like you have that artistic mindset, that creative mindset, but also entrepreneurial spirit that you haven't really stuck with one career in, but each one, even though different, they share the same sense of creating you as a whole person. and how it's really contributed to you and being passionate about what you're doing. No matter what you're doing, you've been able
Right.
to develop skills, but also develop yourself as a professional, also personally. Can you explain what, before COVID-19, what did your day-to-day look like? Were you traveling a lot? Were you local? Explain.
My husband's one of my biggest supporters, and we would do about 6 to 8 art shows a year.
Wow.
Travel mostly in Florida,
Okay.
a little bit in Georgia, and of course that just ended whenever COVID hit. And my husband had some surgery, so we weren't really going to do anything in the beginning of this year. So
Mm.
before this, book work, of course,
Okay.
and keeping up with inventories and whatnot for my clothing and sales, and more computer work than I've done in a while. Researching what kind of contacts and finding sales reps. And then I would have 2 days a week that I would paint. And
Mm.
those were my creative days, empty my
Yeah.
mind out of all the junk stuff.
Yeah.
And that really, I still maintain that it's imperative. So I'm fortunate that being able to, after I moved out of an office, to
Yeah.
work from home, that I have those, two opportunities to do the book work and the computer work, and then also to go into my studio and be creative.
And so you kind of hinted about how you are working more from home now. Is this like, do you believe it's going to be permanent, or are you hoping to get back into like the art studio?
For now, it'll be permanent, also because I'm a full-time caretaker for a family member, an elderly family member.
Got it.
And, but I like working out of the house. I'm an introvert by nature.
Okay.
And it suits me just fine to, sit in my studio for 8 hours, listen to some really nice music while I paint, or the same when I'm in my office. But I do like to get out in business groups. I belong to, several different women's groups that support women in business. And I found that very beneficial.
You hinted about how it's been beneficial where you had a background in bookkeeping, and where it's been kind of a stability for you in these uncertain times. Can you further explain why is it so important to focus on finances, not even during a rainy day, but also like beforehand?
Yeah, the important thing is that if one doesn't understand the relationship between expenses and income and the necessities of insurance and electricity and rent and all of those things, it's great that you might make, 50 or 70 or $100 an hour. How many hours do you have to work to cover the basic expenses?
Yeah.
And that above, when I first signed my first lease on my office, I charged $35 an hour for a massage.
Hmm.
And I had to do 10 massages a month just to cover my rent. That didn't
Wow.
include electricity or phone or anything. And I didn't have any clients. So I thought, well, I'm just going to sign on the dotted line and go for it. And so I did a lot of my own marketing, which is not my forte.
Got
But
it.
I went up and down the street passing out cards. I donated to auctions and charity functions,
Yeah.
and built my clientele by referral.
Hmm.
But had the confidence that I took the leap from leaving a secure job to doing something I was passionate about. And if I
Right.
really wanted to make that happen, I needed to fully immerse myself, 200% in
Yeah.
that process.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
someone can take advantage, of people. I'd never really had a bookkeeper. I've had an accountant, but not a bookkeeper. But if
Right.
one's running a business and has somebody else doing the books, and as an owner, if that owner is not paying attention, there's opportunities for fraud, for,
Yeah.
people steal. It just happens. It's sad to say, but it does happen. So that was my motivation, to
Hmm.
always know how to read financials. And if I did get that large, which there's still time,
Right.
that I would be able to understand where my financial status was.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's always being prepared, and maybe in the sense over prepared,
Right.
more than others would even recommend. And what I appreciate about what you're saying is that it's not even a sense about being prepared financially, which is of course so necessary, but it's also being prepared like with knowledge, being understanding of the entire situation. So then you're in the know. So when a rainy day does happen, you're like, okay, it's not like I'm relying completely 100% on someone else to tell me where I'm at. I already have like a framework of where I know I'm at, and then I can even get some advice or wisdom from someone else.
Yeah.
So important for a rainy day. What is something positive that you've seen, whether it be like personally or professionally or just in the world as is, and that you really hope that we kind of develop this as our new normal?
You mean like now that we're in the COVID, the whole that piece, or just
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
What I really liked is we took my husband's bike to the bike shop to get it serviced, and there were no bikes on the rack. I mean, zero bikes on the rack. And I'm a big walker, and I've noticed a lot more families out riding bikes and doing more things. And I believe that with so much electronics at our fingertips, and I was 20 before I touched a computer, and the kids are probably going, what? And to be able to go back to nature and to realize that there is a world outside of video and electronics is really important. And I hope that that stays. I hope the appreciation of birds singing and butterflies flying and just what nature provides, the depth of color and variety of colors, that's something people will reconnect with in a positive way.
Absolutely, and be energized.
Yes.
And so hopefully we don't really, I know a lot of people are wanting to go back to normal, but I kind of hope that we don't go back to normal. I think that we've sometimes get stuck in a rut of what society tells us, what we believe that we have to follow suit. And so I think you're right, that is provided and forced us to kind of sit down and recognize what's so important for us. And that one of those things is, of course, being back in nature. This is like what we're called to do as human beings. So that's so wise. And that leads to our final question for you. As a woman in the workplace, can you just explain to these girls who are dreaming big about their tomorrows, what are some words of advice for them?
Keep dreaming, for one. Be kind to each other, and find a mentor. Someone who, whether it's a dance teacher, a coach, a music teacher, someone outside of their family that they can talk to about things that get a different perspective. Because I find that in order to grow as a human being, for me, that was imperative. And I didn't really get that until I was probably 18 or 19. And even now, at my age, I'm 60, that I still have mentors. And then the great thing is that once one has a mentor, you become one. Because there will be someone who will be drawn to the energy that they're working through, that they can then share their information, their history, so that they're bringing up the next generation.
Absolutely. I think it goes to show all of us need help, no matter the title that we're in, no matter the age. Everybody just needs a little bit of help. And so that is so wise for you to share this and try to find a mentor, especially outside of a family member too. So Pixie, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing about your company and just what you're doing and just all the wisdom that you've been sharing with these students. So I hope that you stay safe out there and wish you all the best.
I appreciate it, Stephen. You too. And kids, go for it no matter what. Don't take no for an answer.
I love it. All right. We'll see you.
Thank you. Bye.